Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Got a great video for you guys today. Real Truck, as always, is hooking us up. I've got two great looking trucks behind me and they each have amp PowerStep, but they both have the different upgrade paths that you can make. So I'm really hoping this video helps some people out decide on if they want the base amp PowerStep or if they're thinking about spending that little extra and getting a few extra features. And we'll look at both of these side by side and talk about the pros and cons and see what you like about them. So on my right, I've got my neighbor's Dodge, but that's all right, we'll forgive him. And he has got the Amp Extreme PowerSteps. And on your left here, we've got my beautiful Chevy with the Smart Series. Now, obviously there's a little bit of visual differences, but there's a lot more behind the scenes. And we'll also be talking about some bonus stuff Amp makes, like these side steps and the rear corner steps. But yeah, really excited about this video. We'll get my neighbor on at the end here, so you can get a couple different of opinions between the two of us, and hopefully this helps you make a better informed decision on where you're going to spend your hard-earned money. So let's get right into it. I'm really excited about this video. I love looking at that top of the line stuff and comparing them side by side here, which I think is really beneficial for you guys too. So let's get into it. This is Truck Ownership 101. I'm Spencer Elbach. Class is now in session. All right, before we get started, first just want to give a big shout out to Real Truck. You know, they have made all of this possible. They're sending me this stuff, full disclosure, for free, and allowing me to get my hands on it, go through the install process, get my opinions on everything, and give you guys my unbiased opinion. You know, they don't vet this video or anything. It goes live and then they get to see it along at the same time with you guys. So if you guys appreciate that, the best way to say thank you to me, to them, is to buy through them and by following the links. I'll have links in the description of this video and pinned to the top comment. If you follow those links, that kind of helps track it back to me. I do get a small kickback if you do that. So again, thank you very much. If the work here that I'm doing is beneficial to you, helped you make a more informed decision, give you a little more confidence to take on a project like this, that's the best way to say thank you to me. And like I said, Real Truck then knows who you came from and they can keep sending me stuff so I can keep sending you guys cool videos. So again, thank you guys for following those links and thank you Real Truck for making all this possible. So, all right, let's get into it. I've made videos on my running boards in the past. I did a side-by-side comparing to the previous ones they sent me, but they weren't powered. So this is a little more apples to apples. And I've been using the Smart Series now for over a year, or about a year. I made it through a winter, and I've absolutely loved them. I went ahead with these bushwhacker kind of covers underneath and kind of paired them to that. I thought it was a pretty good look. And overall, zero complaints. Absolutely love them. I think they're a great product. I'd highly recommend them. The difference with if you're going from the base amps to the Smart, what you're going to get is a different actual step. You can kind of see the texture there. If we just look over at the extremes here for a second, this running board is actually what the regular amps will be. So you get a different look. You know, in my opinion, I think this looks a little more modern, but that's to each their own. I think they both look great. That kind of powder coated aluminum, really grippy texture on both. You can't go wrong. But obviously the main reason you would go for these is that Smart feature, the app. And actually I've used it a lot more than I thought. My initial gut reaction was, oh geez, another app, right? But it comes in handy with these PowerSteps. You know, they're always up and out of the way when you're not using them, which is great, but sometimes you want them down when the doors are closed. My best example is whether I'm like washing my car myself and need to climb around, or if I'm tying down a load in the back or something and I want a little extra step, or if I'm going through a car wash. This is where I use it the most, actually, where I'm going through a car wash and I want to get the running boards clean, because actually these, I just had to scrub these down with a rag and a bucket, because when they're tucked out of the way, go through a car wash, they don't really get that clean. So when I go through an automatic car wash, I just press a button on my phone, they deploy, and then I go through the car wash and then I kick them back up. So that's actually been pretty handy. I've liked that a lot. I think their marketing strategy is more towards, you can force them to be down or force them to stay up too. So if you're really taking on some off-road stuff and you're in some rough areas, and if you open your door, there could be a boulder or a tree log or so. I don't know what you're going over, but their idea is you can force them to stay up or you can force them to stay down. So overall, the install process on them, straightforward as the other ones. It's just the box that I'll show you when we pop the hoods on these things. It's just a little more involved because it's got some Bluetooth connectivity. But anyway, the Extremes over here, which we just got for this video, because like I said, I've had mine for a while. So these have only been on for maybe a couple weeks here to get our opinions on them. And basically they are the baseline amp power steps, but the upgrade for those is a dual motor design. So on the regular ones and on mine, I have motors on the front two, these these hinges, these connection points, and the back ones are just free. They just, the motor goes up and down with these and they just follow along. They just kind of hold things in place. The Extreme have dual motors, so there's a motor on the front and on the back all around. The idea there is that it can go through the slop, the crud. They can just, they're not going to get hung up as easy. And, being up here in Minnesota, or if you're an off-road, like for the winters up here, or if you're off-road going through the mud and crud and crap, kind of nice to have two. Pros and cons there, the wiring and the setup, like getting the motors mounted to those hinge points and stuff, a little more involved. But, you're running power all the way to the back one now, where on mine you didn't have to, but you're down there running wires. Their wiring harnesses, I will say, are top notch. Everything is, the lengths are all predetermined. They're all cable managed. You're just running wires to places, zip tying them onto kind of structurally sound points, and then just snapping everything together. I honestly like the dual motor design. I just think how they perform the up and down seems to just, it commands what it's supposed to do. I can show you that here in a little bit. Where my back side just kind of trails behind and follows the front one. These are like really confidently both up, both down. Twice as many motors, does that mean twice as much to fail? I don't know if I buy that because they're both only working half as hard. So like mine is doing double duty. So would that make it twice as likely to fail? I don't know. I like the idea of having the dual motors. They're the same motors like my snowblower has for moving my chute left to right up here, and that's been just fine through the elements and stuff. So I'm confident that they're available, obviously, if anything were to go wrong, and that they're going to last a long time. They're built to be an outdoor type of motor. So as far as the wiring goes, there's a little bit of wiring that has to go inside the cab, that OBD2 port where you do your diagnostics and stuff. These are tapped into that. That's how they know your doors are open and closed. And you got to get wires from the outside into there, and every make and model is different. Mine actually came up from the bottom. There was a grommet for my e-brake cable to go inside, and I just poked a tiny hole through that and ran my electrical cable. My neighbor's here, he had to go through the steering column, which was actually on the front, in front of the pedals kind of thing. So Real Truck's got it all figured out. They got their wiring harnesses and all the stuff. Their instructions tell you exactly where to put stuff. So you just go with your make and model. But as for lighting, and I've got the reason why you don't put these on in the cold is because the VHB tape can come off. So I actually have some work to do. I put mine on in the fall, so I lost my adhesion there. But you do have to drill a small hole in this pinch weld area here. And again, I've got this extra fender cover here, but if you don't like the idea of drilling holes in your stuff, we actually just ran the wiring underneath it. And when we close the door, you'll see that we do actually have clearance there. And like I said, the drilling through a pinch weld, you can see right there, would be a problem. But if you actually drilled right here is where you're supposed to do it. But again, you're exposing an area for rust and stuff. So We actually just gave that a shot first, thinking we could always go back and do it the other way, and this isn't so permanent. But now if we close this, do we see daylight through there? Yeah, so you can tell that's why they want you to put the wire through the pinch weld, so you're not putting pressure on that, but it actually is clearing. So that was a risk we're willing to take for the sake of not drilling into our stuff, and it's just some simple little wiring. If we had to go back and patch something, we could. So overall, really happy with that. When you look at this one, you can see daylight underneath that wire. So that one actually is affecting nothing. There was no real need to go through the pinch weld. So yeah, following their instructions, you may want to not do what we did and actually go through. They got little grommets and stuff that will go through the metal, so it's not going to start slicing into the wire or anything. But it is tough having a nice new truck and drilling a bunch of holes in it. So to each their own there. You can make your own decision if you want to do that. But let's take a look under the hoods. This would be what you'd use for the Extreme. This is the module that connects everything together. Again, you've got your power with its own isolated fuse, and then all of that wiring harness. Like I said, this is all predetermined, all pre-cut to length. All of this, like commercial grade stuff here, really well thought out. You kind of find an anchor point to it. They give you some suggestions based on your make and model, but yeah, it dives down there to go down to the driver's side and some of the wiring that goes inside the vehicle. And then for the passenger side, we ran the wiring here, through here, and then down. And again, our goal is just to get down to where those running boards are. So on mine, again, they figure this all out based on your make and model. With my battery being on the passenger side, I've tucked mine. I got mine zip tied down and away. So, but it's the same kind of module. And I guess one extra bonus thing that I like about the Smart series is that there is this additional auxiliary hot here that's coming from that module that they give you. And so my app can actually control some additional thing. Like, I guess the first thing that comes to mind is maybe like some underglow LED lights or something that I might just want to control with an app. I don't have to run extra switches and hardware and stuff inside my vehicle. So another plus, I guess, if you're thinking about the Smart series. Obviously, I haven't come up with a use for it yet, but could very well do that. But again, all the wiring, all the stuff was all pre-included. I've got a little extra mess in mind because my bed cover is powered, so I've got all kinds of crap on mine. But yeah, that's the comparison between the two. Let's wrap this video up with some final opinions between me and my neighbor Ryan here. I've been talking a lot plenty, so let's get Ryan talking about what he likes about his truck. But, all right, Ryan, take it away.
Yeah, sure. So first things first, its install was relatively simple. Instructions were solid. Obviously, it helped to have you since you've done this before, but I was pretty confident I could have done it or cruised through it by myself pretty easily. To step back over here a little bit, talking likes and dislikes, we'll go the negative side first. One thing I haven't liked is these boards are out a little bit further, so I do tend to smack my shins every time I get in here. It is what it is. Other thing is, a lot of us have kids. I've got an adventurous 7-year-old. First thing he did was try to close the door and stick something between it. I don't know that there's any safety measures from that, but I caught him in time to not figure that out. So that was a positive. But things I've really liked is this is sturdy as hell. I think the dual motors help a lot with that. Obviously the mounts too. The other things I do like is the traction is solid, like whether it's wet or anything that's been on this so far, it's been great. I don't know how winter is going to treat it. That's obviously something that being in Minnesota we have to think about, but it's perfect traction. Wife loves it. Kids love it. So I've really liked them thus far. They've been great. I can't say many negative things about it. So outside of that, did you want to touch on the step too?
Yeah, let's head back there.
So if you do have a Ram and you do have feet, which most of us have feet, thankfully, when you step up on this, it's really hard to get a foot on it. So that's been something I've absolutely hated about this truck. Spencer mentioned this piece to me, and this is probably one of my favorite tools I've gotten thus far. It pops off really easy. I can hop in, no problem. Because even then, even outside of this, if you pop the tailgate, come over to this side, you don't have a lot of spots to hop in on. And this is a pretty, I'm 6 feet tall. That's pretty high for me even. So having this step added in has made my life much, much easier. And that takes about a couple minutes. I mean, that was pretty easy to put on. That didn't take much at all. So as far as my favorite thing on this truck, it's probably been this little nifty thing. That's been a nice add.
Yeah, the Chevys, they've got that little step which
Right.
kind of gets the job done. So if you don't have something like that, but that actually does bring it even to a even more convenient point.
Yeah, it is. That's a good point because my last Chevy was about that size too, and it had that. And even this has made it a lot easier just to make it a 1-2 step. So,
Okay,
yeah,
excellent. But yeah, overall, two great options for you. Whether you're looking for the double motors or looking for the app features in order to leave the steps down if you're cleaning things, or leave them up if you're off-roading and don't want to open the door and run into something. Two great options. If you want the extreme, there actually is an add-on little switch you could purchase extra. It could tap into stuff, and then you'd have to drill a hole and mount a spot for that switch, but that could be an override as well. So there's ways to customize this to get exactly what you want. So again, if you are interested in purchasing either of these items, make sure to follow the link either in the description or the top chat item. I'd really appreciate that support. Shout out to Real Truck for making all this possible. Shout out for Ryan for letting us use his truck. And click like, subscribe. I've got more content coming. So until next time, class dismissed.